Good evening, friends. Welcome to Late Night on Boomer Bongo Boulevard.
Season 3, Episode 2.
I'm Ron Michael, and it is so good to see you back on the Boulevard. We've got music, we've got stories, and we've got a few surprises you won't see coming.
Welcome once again to Boomer Bongo Boulevard, Season 3, Episode 2. We are now deep into 2026. It's February as we're putting this together. I'm Mike, just Mike. Along with me is Ron, just Ron, my brother. We're brothers in Boomerdom. And we want to ask you once again to subscribe. And also, Ron, I want to take a minute to mention that our Monkey Men video interview is about to go over 900 views. And if any of you out there haven't seen it, check it out. A lot of people really enjoyed that interview. Those guys are very personable, and we had a great time talking to them. And I think
there's good info.
Yeah. Well, they're doing a lot of shows now too. Every time I look up, they're doing a handful of shows. So if you're a fan of the Monkees, watch the interview, because these Monkey Men, they're fans of the Monkees too. That's one reason they're doing their tribute band. But that's enough of that ad, I suppose. Tonight, and we are videoing this at night, or filming this at night. Well, we're not filming it; we're videoing it. Is because we're not doing it on film. Late night, and our Boomer feel. I think, Ron, I think late night's lost its identity.
More and more every day, and maybe already gone. I kind of think it's already gone.
Yeah, it's just because now there's so many ways to stream things. When somebody gets off from work, maybe they're working the late shift, or they just are a night owl, or they're a student. Anybody that can stay up late, they can stream anything. They can watch movies in the middle of the night. And that wasn't always a possibility. I mean, it was really in the middle 80s, I guess, before people could rent movies and take them home.
Yeah.
But that was when it started. That was when late night began to deteriorate. But in the olden days, you had, I guess, 4 networks, maybe some cable networks coming in, and you couldn't record things very well before the 1980s. And you watched what was on when it was on, and it got to be, 10:30? And there were things like The Tonight Show. Johnny Carson, of course, it's still on today, in a manner of speaking. But you had the real Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, Jay Leno a little later. Before Johnny Carson, you had Jack Paar. You didn't just have talk shows. There were other things too. There were experimentations. But what do you associate with late night?
Well, this is some stuff I thought was a little different that I guess started to kind of push some of the talk shows off. What would be just kind of weird stuff. Now, this was mostly on the weekend, but this was something my friends and I used to watch in college. And there's probably a few people that still remember it. It was a show called Night Flight. On the USA Network. And they showed all kind of different stuff. They showed like kind of rock videos you'd never seen, like maybe some stuff by the Ramones, or, some harder rock stuff. And they would show some oddball stuff. But one of the things I remember the most, the thing that we used to look forward to, was this show that they would show within a show called Dynaman. Now, what Dynaman was actually the original Japanese version, that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was derived from. All the fighting stuff and all that they show is all from the original Japanese show, and this was before they even did Power Rangers. They would get these old shows and they would redub them hilariously, and they're still out there on the internet. You can see them. They're on YouTube and on a lot of other stuff. It's called Dynaman, Dynaman, and it ran on Night Flight in the 80s. Very funny, kind of raunchy, but very, very, very funny.
Well,
and that was one of my favorites.
Dubbing is funny anyway. Anything's been dubbed in is funny. Hello.
Yeah.
Where are we going? I'm not sure. That's the way to do it.
I know.
That's the way to watch TV. That's the way to watch TV.
Or like when they do
That's
bad lip. Have you ever seen bad lip reading from the NFL films?
I have. I
Yeah,
have.
it's pretty funny.
We might need to devote a show to bad lip reading. Well, I went more traditional, and I just identify late night Monday through Friday, and oddly,
Uh-huh.
you were talking about the weekends, but Monday through Friday, you were watching talk shows, and you had the king, really the greatest
Uh-huh.
talk show host of all time, Johnny Carson, who was on
Yep.
for decades, but another guy, and everybody knows about Johnny Carson, or they should if they are
Uh-huh.
interested in this topic at all, but. Uh, Another guy that you might have forgotten about is Tom Snyder, who came on
Oh,
after
I'm
Johnny
glad you
Carson.
brought him up. I had him down here. The Tomorrow Show,
The Tomorrow Show, and
precursor to Letterman.
did you know that Tom Snyder introduced Weird Al Yankovic to America? He was the first
Yes,
national.
I did. I had this written down here.
And
And
Weird
he also
Al,
did the last televised interview of John Lennon.
yeah, that's right. And
Uh-huh.
Tom
And they
Snyder was awesome.
reshowed it. It was a 5-year-old interview, and they reshowed it when he got killed.
Yeah,
They did
yeah,
a rerun of it. Yeah.
and the he was also known for it's escaped me. Charles Manson. He had an
Yeah.
interview,
Charles
a
Manson interview.
jailhouse interview with Charles
Uh-huh.
Manson, which I don't know if I'm in favor of giving Charles Manson an interview, but it was still pretty interesting. I remember
Yeah.
watching a little bit of it, and of course, when Manson came on, he was kind of interesting, which,
Yeah.
if you think about it, that makes sense because he was able to get all these people pretty much mesmerized by him,
Yeah.
and he was
He
able to
got him
get
to kill for him. I mean,
yeah kill for him. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you would have to have a bit of a personality to do that. But Tom Snyder and Tom Snyder was known for that crazy
Yeah.
laugh, and yeah,
With the cigarette burning constantly. Yeah.
and, the thing was when I was younger and watching him, and I watched Tom Snyder a good bit because he
Yeah,
had
I did
interesting
too, yeah.
guests, but I didn't like him very much. He was a little bit too over the top for me, and now I go back and look, and I like him a lot more. I guess as you get
Yeah.
older, you get more tolerant of people who laugh too loud or do maybe use their hands too much or smoke when they
You know what I
shouldn't.
think it is? Because my wife and I were discussing this just the other day. Um, it's because everybody that's on TV is so damn boring now.
Well,
It's like they all went through I'm the perfect broadcaster school instead of having any personality and doing weird, quirky stuff that kind of makes it interesting. There's never going to be another Howard Cosell. There's never going to be another Tom Snyder. You're not going to see guys like that anymore because they don't do it right.
Well,
You know?
it's to be fair, more modern people that you see on television a lot now, they haven't had that much experience. It's really hard to get on the air. Used to be all you really had to do to broadcast was be very persistent at the local radio station, and finally they'd get tired of you and put you on the air. Well, put them on at 3:00 in the morning. Well, nobody's got anybody on the radio at 3:00 in the morning now. It's some kind of pre-recorded something, or they're just playing one song after the other because they took a poll and they found out that listeners didn't like disc jockeys, which is a lie because radio has fewer and fewer listeners. Do you think it might be because they don't have disc jockeys with personalities introducing the records and getting experience and later getting on TV and developing their own personality and developing a feel for what their particular audience was? That's what I think has happened. And I don't think these people want to be boring.
Is just gone from most aspects of life anymore, which is sad.
Yeah, it's just
That's
it's
across
hard
the board.
Well, what's going to be next is all the hosts for the news shows and any kind of hosts that interview real people. They're going to be AI generated robots.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, I read that you have read a red pony and get distracted with the word red and turn it into red and go off in a tangent because let's face it, AI intelligence is never going to have enough experience to even use the language properly. They can't do it. It's impossible. You have to be in a million boring classrooms and have a million boring English teachers correct you on your pronunciation of terms or make fun of you. Your classmates make fun of you
Or you
because
can
you
just do
said something
voiceovers
funny.
on them.
Oh, yeah. And then AI is never going to get bullied into doing things
Yeah.
correctly. And bullying has a place in this world. Hey, Ron, some other folks, you remember Dick Cavett?
Yep, I sure do.
Dick Cavett's still around. He's 89 years old. And
Unbelievably.
he's mainly known for having a talk show on ABC that was very popular for about 5 or 6 years. I don't know, very popular. He was popular enough to stay on the air opposite Johnny Carson, which was a pretty mean feat. And he did it with great guests and kind of being creative
Yeah,
and being
that's
a
what I
little
was
more
going to say. He's
hip.
famous for his guests because his
Yeah.
guests
Oh,
were
yeah.
unbelievable.
He
He
was.
had people that nobody ever got,
Right.
you know.
And you had musical guests that were pretty interesting. Janis Joplin, I remember, and Jimi Hendrix, and
Yeah.
folks that maybe Johnny Carson just didn't want. Maybe they were a little too controversial sometimes.
John Lennon, Groucho
Oh.
Marx used to come on all the time.
Well, he
They
had
were good
Lester.
buddies.
He had Lester Maddox on with Jim Brown at the same time.
Yeah.
That's pretty. That's pretty fearless.
That's some Jerry Springer stuff right there, man.
Oh, it's right out of Jerry Springer. Except if Jerry Springer were actually cool rather than
Yeah.
whatever it was he was, which cool wasn't it. But Joey Bishop. I don't imagine you remember Joey Bishop. He had a talk show on for a while. And
Yeah, I remember Joey Bishop having a talk show. Yep.
do you remember who his right hand man was?
No, but I remember the Monkees played on there one time.
Regis
That
Philbin.
video's available on YouTube.
Hey, Ron, Regis Philbin was his right hand man. His
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
That's where I
have read
first
that
saw
before.
Regis.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand Regis back then, but later on I developed a real affection for him because I realized what a New Yorker he was, even though he wasn't. He was just such a New Yorker. I remember Regis Philbin chasing some lady down after he had his morning show in the Atlanta airport, and the lady didn't want to talk to him, and he went running after her going, "Hey, lady!" And that was a Southern woman. I'd already heard her accent, and she just stopped and turned around and did a slow burn looking at him. You don't yell, "Hey, lady," to a Southern female. You just don't do it. And right then, I was like, Regis is so brazen. I've got to start liking him. He's got to have a friend, and I'm gonna be his friend, even though he doesn't know about it. Hey, give me one. Throw out another late night.
Okay, here's a very obscure one, but I used to watch it all the time. It was on the late great The Comedy Channel, which merged with another comedy type network and made Comedy Central, which we have now.
Right.
And it was Night After Night with Alan Havey.
Alan
Havey. Alan Havey.
So you've got me on that. I never watched that or
it was only on for a couple of years, but it was like it was just the guy was just so laid back, and
right.
That was one of the reasons I enjoyed listening to it. As I was about to go to sleep, but he had kind of interesting guests because he couldn't ever get anybody really famous, so he had to kind of pull that kind of stuff like Letterman used to do early on and have weirdos and stuff on there. Sometimes he just had like his friends on, and he only had like about 10 people in there. They'd be like,
like the cameraman,
and he would make fun of how nobody was there, all the time, and he was the first guy I ever saw that introduced me to those. I think I mentioned them before. I think they're called. I'll have to look it up again, but it's something zoetrope or something. I don't think that's right, but anyway, those little video jukeboxes I talked about that time,
sure,
back in the '60s, and there was like literally was video jukeboxes in cafes, restaurants. And they had little screens on it, and you got up and you put money in them, and it would play these songs. It'd be a video. And the only one that ever did anything was These Boots Are Made for Walking. That's why video looks kind of odd, has real bright colors and stuff.
Right.
But most of the people that made them, which is why it never took off, was it had people like that blonde lady that played one of the Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs' wife on the Beverly Hillbillies.
Right.
That was all monotone. She made like about a dozen of them, and she was terrible. But anyway, he used to show stuff like that all the time. That's where I first saw that and thought that stuff was hilarious. And I don't know, it was just a fun show. I just really liked it. There may be a few people that remember him. But,
running back to
Alan Havey.
going back from the obscure, which we just finished talking about a little, because honestly, Dick Cavett is obscure at this point. He's still alive. He may have
that's true.
video. I hope he doesn't. Do a hashtag for Dick Cavett. I'd love to hear from him in the comments. It'd be super. But Dick Cavett he was always kind of the underground guy. He felt kind of underground. But going back to the main guy, Johnny Carson, who everybody looked up to, and everybody who ever became a talk show host, I think, looked up to Johnny Carson at one time, at least of a certain age. But I was putting together people that were associated with Johnny Carson. Of course, David Letterman followed Carson for quite a few years before Letterman had the feud with NBC and the conflict with Jay Leno and all that.
He's the one who replaced Tom Snyder. When Tom Snyder got canceled, Letterman replaced Tom Snyder.
Letterman came in. And Letterman was a big admirer of Tom Snyder too. But then you've got
he actually hired Tom Snyder to follow his show on CBS.
You've got
he did that for about 4 years.
Got Johnny Carson, David Letterman, Jay Leno associated with that crew because Leno became a regular Tonight Show host. Joan Rivers, all of those, and then Tom Snyder. All of those were associated with Johnny Carson, and really everything kind of sprang from Johnny Carson. Dick Cavett had been a guest host for Johnny Carson a few times, and just about everybody, and then a couple of other people that sort of sprang from those were, and you were talking about the Comedy Channel. Jon Stewart had a late night comedy show for a couple of years that was mixed in that bag somewhere, and only lasted a year or two. And Jon Stewart's a funny guy.
As
I
well
don't
as Dennis
necessarily
Miller.
agree with his politics, but he's a funny guy, and he's truly a funny guy, and can sometimes find the humor in things that nobody else can. And I enjoyed his show and really hated it when it went off. It was on so late I couldn't watch it very often, but still, you got it. Jon Stewart was in that mix, and Conan O'Brien. Oh my gosh, is Conan the last of the great talk show hosts?
Probably, yeah. In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Well,
And he's still out there doing a podcast. So
it's very good.
That's kind of the thing now. People do podcasts now,
right? Right. But I think he's probably he's the last of that line that really looked up to Johnny Carson and David Letterman and wanted to be like those guys. And now anybody new that comes along that's not very old, that's in their 20s or early 30s, they just don't have that much experience with Johnny Carson. They just don't have anybody to look up to. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel. The guys that are around today, they don't really hold a candle to those old style guys. They're not relaxed. They try to be, but they can't pull it off. And
they try too hard.
I guess that's what it is. It's really an art.
Well, they make it about themselves too often, and that was what Carson was so good at. He didn't make it about himself.
Yeah. I think you're right. And maybe the true test for a late night host or somebody that hosts a talk show is how good are you when things aren't going well, and the real pros, they're actually better when things aren't going well than they were. Just a nod. We did this a little, Ron. I guess we need to wrap it up some, but just a nod. We've missed some people, I know, but a nod to Bill Tush.
I got a few that I wanted to mention that were terrible shows and very short-lived shows.
Well, no,
some
Bill
people
Tush
may not
was
remember.
Bill Tush was not.
And this may be the worst one of all time. The Chevy Chase show was horrible.
Oh, that was
the Chevy Chase show. That was probably
nobody wanted to be on it. Well, nobody liked Chevy
Pat
Chase.
Sajak. Remember the Pat Sajak show?
Pat tried it. That's right, and just was, and he's so
Now
funny.
here's
to
a really
Wheel of Fortune.
forgotten one.
What? What?
Yeah. And now here's a guy that the first time I ever saw him was hosting a talk show, but he got to be more well known on a sitcom, and that was Alan Thicke. His show
Oh
was
yeah,
Thick of the Night.
he
And
was
he was a big, he was like, they used to call him the Johnny Carson of Canada.
of Canada.
But it just
Yeah.
didn't, work out here. But then, he got famous on a sitcom on Growing Pains, and
Yeah.
he was much better at that.
Yeah, and had a famous child, I suppose. But Alan Thicke just did not. I think he could be too low key. I think that was Pat Sajak's problem, because he was pretty funny as the host of Wheel of Fortune, so witty
Yeah.
at times. If you ever watched it when he was the host, but you can be too low key. Johnny Carson was relaxed, but I don't think he was ever low key. He had this edge to him. David Letterman had this edge. Conan O'Brien had an edge. Snyder had an edge, and Alan Thicke really didn't. He was rounded off. All the edges were rounded off, and he was smooth. And it's just not a place for smooth people. It's a place for relaxed people with an underlying energy, I think. Any last words? We could wrap this up, Ron. I think we'll wrap.
Well, I think we need to wrap this sucker up.
We do. We
about
do. We
ready
need
to
to
wrap
wrap
it
it up
up?
here.
All right.
So this is season
All right.
3, episode
Well,
2, Boomer Bongo Boulevard. Boom.